everyone, welcome back to my channel, Hexes and Horrors, and especially welcome if you're new to my channel. We mostly talk about history, haunts, horror, Halloween, spooky travels over here, but currently we've been doing some Christmas Creepmas videos, and this one is one of those. Today we're talking about some different holiday horror movies that you can watch at home. Some are favorites of mine and some have been recommended by friends. These are some great films to get you in the holiday mood, in the Creepmas mood. So here we go. Number one, starting off on our list, is Krampus. Krampus is a holiday horror comedy film about everyone's favorite December demon, Krampus. In the film, a dysfunctional family is squabbling. They're not getting along very well. And this causes a young boy named Max to lose his festive Christmas spirit. Doing so unleashes the wrath of Krampus. I'm not going to spoil any of the rest of the movie for you. If you're interested, you can check it out on your own. If you don't know who Krampus is, I suggest doing a little bit of research first. I do have some other videos explaining in depth the history and the lore of Krampus. But basically, he's the opposite to Santa Claus. He's a folklore figure used to scare children around the holiday time, and he threatens to whip them with birch sticks or kidnap them and stuff them in his sack, dragging them to hell, or dragging them wherever else they probably don't want to be. So Krampus is a good one. Next is Black Christmas. This is hands down my favorite holiday horror film and probably one of my favorite horror films as well, but I have a lot of those. The original 1974 version starring Olivia Hussey is my favorite version. It's the original OG Black Christmas. It is, of course, filmed in the 1970s, so it has a very old feel to it, obviously. But I love that. I love decade films. I love period film. I love films that take place in other decades. So that one just has a little bit of a nostalgic feel to it, and I just personally feel that it is the best version that has been made. There are 3 versions of Black Christmas, that 1974 version, a 2006 version, and then there was also a 2019 version starring Lily Donahue. They're all fun. I think the 2019 one is like a little bit campy, but also more modern, so it's up to date with cell phones and social media and all of that. But that one is my least favorite. Anyway, it's a super cute, creepy holiday film. It's about girls living in a sorority house and they are being stalked by a crazed killer during Christmas time. The killer used to live in the sorority house that they are now occupying. And at one point, he's hiding in the attic and just like creeping down when he wants to, killing someone and going back up. I won't spoil like all the details for you, but I think the creepiest part is that he's at some point in the attic, like he's in the house with them. And that just freaks me out to no end. So if you haven't watched Black Christmas, I highly recommend the original version, but also check out one of the remakes. Next is actually my all-time favorite holiday movie. I watch this movie every year around Christmas time, and it is Scrooged, starring Bill Murray. First of all, who doesn't love Bill Murray? I mean, I know some people don't, but I'm a big fan of his. I think he's super funny. Scrooged is another horror comedy film. And I use horror lightly because it's not really horror, but you know, there's the whole ghost story element. There are some dark things in the movie, like some death and violence. My characters are for sure the Ghost of Christmas Past and the Ghost of Christmas Present. If you haven't seen it and you want a good holiday comedy / little bit of horror, it is so good. I can't wait to watch that this December. I'm so excited. Even though it was made in 1988, I was 2 years old when this movie came out. It still has a very modern twist to it. Bill Murray plays the Ebenezer Scrooge character, although his name is different in the movie. He plays a very successful executive of a television company. It's set in New York City. It's just such a good, funny twist on A Christmas Carol. One more thing, Bill Murray also improvised a lot of his lines in Scrooged, so it's really fun to watch it and kind of see like which lines he improvised. You can find out some of them online. Moving on from Scrooged to, of course, A Christmas Carol. My aunt religiously watches this every single year on Christmas. My mom would host Christmas for the holidays. She would come over and basically commandeer the TV and put this on. And it would always irritate me at the time, and it still irritates me to this day. But of course, A Christmas Carol is such a classic holiday film, and we wouldn't have Scrooged without A Christmas Carol. I highly recommend reading the book as well if you're a reader. It's cozy, it's festive, it gives a great life lesson. Everyone knows the story because it's such a classic. Definitely has to make this list. I am going to also throw It's a Wonderful Life in here, which is not a favorite film of mine, but I know it's a very popular holiday film to watch. I actually watched it last year or the year before and was less than impressed, shall I say. However, I was kind of dozing off during the whole film. I thought it was going to be this like classic nostalgia feel to it, something that would just like hook me in the way that everybody talks about it. But I do need to give it another chance because, like I said, I was falling asleep during it. Also, it could just be that it's nostalgic for people who grew up watching that movie, just the same way that Home Alone is nostalgic for my generation. But I am going to give it another shot and try It's a Wonderful Life again. So that is another classic Christmas film if you're interested. Next up is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And yes, it can be a Christmas film. I know that's the big debate. It is a perfect mix of both holidays, Christmas and Halloween, for anyone who has the Halloween blues now that October is over. Amazing classic Tim Burton film that has certainly stood the test of time. I think that's the most fun thing about nostalgic movies or songs or whatever it is from the time that I grew up, which was like the late 90s and early 2000s, is when kids today know what it is and love it just as much. And The Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely one of those films. Then we have How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version. I love the Jim Carrey version because I think it's funny. I know a lot of people really love the original cartoon version. I like that one as well. I just think the Jim Carrey one is a little bit more humorous, but they're both great. Moving on to another classic, of course, we have A Christmas Story. This one I almost feel like is more of a cult classic. I feel like you kind of either love it or hate it. I definitely had a lot of fun watching this growing up. And even though I did not grow up in the time period the film is set in, it still just felt like very cozy and warm and homey and, again, nostalgic. I'm using that word so much in this video. But obviously that's not my nostalgia, but it was sort of giving just the nostalgia of the 1940s when it takes place. I also think it was so cool that Ralphie had a cameo in Elf. That was something really cool to see, and it was also something I realized on my own, which is always more fun than hearing it somewhere else and then going to double check and verify. I just remember watching the film and being like, that guy looks so familiar. That's Ralphie. So that was fun. I think my favorite part of A Christmas Story is when he gets his tongue stuck to the phone pole. I feel like after watching that, it was always so tempting to stick my tongue on an ice-covered phone pole, but of course I never did because of that scene in the movie. But it was just so tempting to just see if that would actually happen. Staying with this roll of nostalgia, we've got Gremlins. Oh my god, who doesn't love Gremlins? I feel like Gremlins is sometimes overlooked as a Christmas film and as a horror film. It is just such a cute movie with such a just funny, fun, weird plot. I will tell you a secret though, I have a very difficult time watching Gremlins, and I've only watched it once recently. I watched it last year for the first time in like over 15 years probably. And I have a really hard time watching it because of how mean the other gremlins are to Gizmo. And it just makes me so sad, his big eyes and his little sounds that he makes. And it also makes me so sad the way that Gizmo had to be returned to his owner at the end of the film. And I know he gets reunited with Billy in the second one, but it's still just so sad to see him go at the end of the first film. And like I said, just the way that he's treated is just awful. I want you to jump into the screen and scoop him up and rescue him. So I get real sad during those scenes in Gremlins, which is so silly. He's just the cutest, and he reminds me so much of a Furby. And the way that he's being experimented on by scientists in the second film, I just can't take it. Poor Gizmo. Wait, he deserves better. Okay. Moving on from Gremlins and Gizmo, we have Jack Frost. So in Jack Frost, which is another horror comedy film from 1997, a serial killer is transformed into a mutant snowman who then continues his murderous spree in sometimes very humorous, wintry ways. Jack Frost is a good one. I haven't seen that in a really long time. Maybe I will rewatch it this year. Then we have The Gingerbread Man, which is a little bit similar to Jack Frost. I can't even look at images from The Gingerbread Man without cracking up. The Gingerbread Man cookie itself is hideous. Like, what is even happening here? It's just such a ridiculous, silly movie as Killer Gingerbread Man cookie. But if you like horror comedy and just silly things like that, like kind of like Jack Frost, then you'll probably like The Gingerbread Man. It's a little bit similar to Jack Frost in the sense that the Gingerbread Man cookie comes to life with the soul of a convicted killer. So it has some similarities in the plot line. And lastly, for this list of holiday creepmas horror comedy films, we have Casper's Haunted Christmas. We can't forget about little Casper, another nostalgic little 2000s gem. Casper is everyone's favorite cutie little ghost. There's no Devon Saw in this one, but it's a cute story, and Casper always deserves some watch time. Casper's Haunted Christmas involves him on a sort of mission or journey where he has to scare at least one person a year. And if he doesn't, him and his 3 uncles will be banished to the dark. But as we know, Casper is a friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know, so scaring people not in his repertoire. And his uncles try their hardest to get him to scare someone and try to have him wreak havoc on an unsuspecting family. Will Casper's will to be kind be enough? And to find out, you'll have to watch Casper's Haunted Christmas. That's all for this list. I know there are a ton more holiday horror films, but these are just some of my top ones that are either my faves, my go-tos, ones that I've seen a lot. I'd love to watch a few more and some that I have not watched before, so if you have a good one, drop it in the comments and let me know what your favorite holiday horror film is. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to check out my other holiday videos. I have a decoration tour, Salem in December video, a Christmas in Eastern Pennsylvania video, and a bunch more over on other platforms if you're interested. I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Thanks again for watching and have a beautiful day.